commodity markets, all eyes, of course, are going to be on the Federal Reserve's moves. Now, the Federal Reserve is set to cut interest rates by a quarter point. But the bigger question for the market is what comes next. Now, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is urging a deeper move, saying that the Fed has been behind the curve. Now, while dissent among Fed governors is possible, traders are betting on 2 more cuts before year's end. That's in October and December as well. Now, politics are also weighing heavy when it comes to the Fed rate cut as Trump is pressing for looser policy ahead of the 2025 election season. Now, to get an idea of what the market is penciling in, what the much-awaited FOMC meeting is underway and what's the street anticipating, the first rate cut of 25 basis points this year is what is being penciled in. Now, my colleague Varun Dubey is standing by to tell us what more to expect. Varun, over to you.
Well, so the street is estimating a 25 basis point rate cut in the September meeting of FOMC, and after 2.5 years, that is after June 2023, this would be the first rate cut in the US markets. And the Fed range, which is around 4.25 to 4.5, will actually start moving down. And it is not only this time, Street is also expecting a rate cut going forward. If you look at the Reuters poll of 107 economists, around 105 are expecting a rate cut in the September policy, and around 60% of the economists are also expecting a rate cut in the coming policies as well. So a total of around 50 basis point of rate cut is expected in the calendar year 2025, and that is 60% of the economists are expecting a 50 basis point rate cut in calendar year 2025. And also some are expecting further rate cuts in calendar year 2026. So they are expecting a total of 75 basis point rate cut from here on till the next year. So the rate cut cycle is again to start after 2.5 years. Now, there are several factors which are actually leading to the rate cuts. No doubt, if you look at the inflation numbers, they are actually expected to inch up because of the tariff war that is going on. But yes, if you look at the other economic data points of the US market, especially the unemployment data, that is something which is actually worrisome. And if you also remember, during the Jackson Hole Symposium, the Fed chairman was actually sounding a little bit dovish, and also the street is expecting the overall unemployment data to inch up going forward in the US markets. And this is one of the important data points because of which street is expecting a 25 basis rate cut in the September policy, and also going ahead you might see a series of rate cuts in the US market. So after finally 2.5 years, that is Jan 2023, the rate cut cycle in the US market is about to start with a 25 basis rate cut in the September policy.
All right, so let's see how that pans out and what kind of rate cut we see coming later today after that FOMC meeting. But moving on, a U.S. appeals court has rejected Trump's bid to remove Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. That's in a case as a major test of Fed independence. Now, the ruling keeps Cook in place for this week's policy meeting where rate cuts are expected. The White House says that it will appeal to the Supreme Court, arguing presidents have broad discretion to fire Fed governors. So that's about Lisa Cook. But moving on to some latest updates as far as U.S. and China ties are concerned. The U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that a U.S.-China trade deal is likely before reciprocal tariffs kick in this November. Now, in an interview, Bessent noted that recent talks have grown more productive, with both sides signaling progress. Tariffs of up to 145% on Chinese goods remain suspended until November 10th. Now, the U.S. trade deficit with China has narrowed sharply in 2025, and officials expect further declines going forward. Bessent, in fact, says that the aim is to balance this deficit. Moving on, now let's also take a look at Trump's comments. Now, Trump says that a deal has been reached to keep TikTok running in the U.S., requiring its American assets to shift from China's ByteDance to U.S. ownership. The deadline to finalize the transfer has been extended to December 16. Let's listen into his comments.
We have a deal on TikTok. I've reached a deal with China. I'm going to speak to President Xi on Friday to confirm everything up. We made a very good trade deal, and I hope good for both countries, but a very different deal than they've made in the past.
What companies are going to buy
We'll be announcing that. We have a group of very big companies that want to buy it. And, the kids wanted it so badly. I had parents calling me up They don't want it for themselves. They want it for their kids.
All right, so those are the latest comments coming from Trump. But moving on, let's get tracking some more global stories. Now, U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent also says that Trump's proposal to scrap quarterly earnings reports in favor of semi-annual disclosures would be a win for investors. Trump argues that the shift would free CEOs from short-term pressures, cut compliance costs, and also make U.S. markets more competitive with foreign exchanges. Next up, TikTok is moving closer to a framework deal that would bring in new and existing ByteDance investors while keeping Oracle as its cloud partner. While details remain under the wraps, reports suggest that investment will be modest and not aimed at taking the company public soon. Moving on, then U.S. retail sales surprised with a 0.6% jump in August, triple from the forecasted 0.2% gain and matching last month's sales. Now, this data highlights that resilient consumer spending despite economic headwinds there. Now, strong sales could influence Fed policy towards tighter rates as well. Moving on then, Donald Trump has landed in Britain for his second state visit, the first U.S. president ever to receive that honor. His arrival coincides with a landmark $42 billion US-UK tech pact focused on AI, quantum and clean energy as well. Now, while speaking to reporters after landing in the region, he said that US and UK share a deep friendship and a few trade they told won't need to be, those are the things that need to be sorted out. And let's go across and listen into his comments coming from the UK.
They're also on trade. They want to see if they can refine the trade deal a little bit. We made a deal, and it's a great deal. And I'm into helping them. Our country is doing very well. We've never done this well. We're having trillions of dollars coming because of the tariffs. They'd like to see if they could get a little bit better deal. So we'll talk to them.
All right, so those are the latest comments coming from Trump when he's landed in the UK. But moving on, now tech giants are pouring more than $40 billion into the UK's artificial intelligence, with Microsoft alone committing $30 billion through 2028. Nvidia has pledged $15 billion, including its largest ever GPU deployment in Europe, while Google has announced nearly $7 billion for a new data center near London. OpenAI, on the other hand, will launch a major Stargate UK project, and Salesforce, meanwhile, is boosting commitment to $6 billion. Next up, let's just focus to Japan. Now, Japan's exports have slipped 0.1% in August, marking a fourth straight monthly decline, but the drop was far milder than economists were expecting. Now, imports, they also contracted, falling 5.2% year-on-year, though more than forecast. Exports, on the other hand, to the US, that plunged nearly 14%, hit by weaker demand despite a recent tariff cut deal. Shifting focus now, Russia may be forced to cut oil output after a wave of Ukrainian drone attacks damaged ports and refineries, according to reports. Now, pipeline monopoly Transneft, that has restricted storage and warned producers that it may accept less crude. Moscow has denied the reports, calling them Western information war, but Ukraine strikes have already knocked out nearly a fifth of Russia's refining capacity. Next up, in his second innings as an entrepreneur, former Australian captain Steve Waugh tells Ankita Saxena